So logistic growth is when we're going to bring in this idea of a carrying capacity, that there are what we call limiting factors that prevent our population from growing exponentially, whether that's food, shelter, predators, disease, pollution, natural disasters. There are things that prevent our population from continuing to grow. Some of those things are worse as our population gets larger. We call those density dependent limiting factors. That's like food and disease. The closer together you are, the harder those things are to acquire or to resist. Things like pollution or natural disasters might be more density independent. It doesn't matter how close together you are, it has the same kind of effect on the population. So because these limiting factors exist, they establish what we call a carrying capacity on an ecosystem. For a particular population, this ecosystem can only have this population. It's kind of like a occupancy for like a larger room, right? You see those posted on the wall. They limit on how much it goes. So if our population had a carrying capacity of 100 and our size was already at 75, how much room would it have left to grow? Well, we'd take as the 100 and subtract the 75. So we'd have 25 spots left. But we want to reflect how much that is compared to the room we started with, right? So if we have a carrying capacity of 100 and we're 25 away from that, we can show that as a percent as a room to grow. So we do 25 divided by 100. That's 25%. Now, our model for exponential growth worked okay at the start and then got really bad at the end. What we want to do is take this idea of carrying capacity and incorporate that into exponential growth. And so we come up with this term here. So K is going to represent our carrying capacity. In that example up there was 100. And then we're going to take what our population is now and develop a percentage from it. So K minus NO divided by K. So if we were doing that with our original population that we talked about there, 100 minus 75, that's 25 divided by 100 would give us 25% of the room left. If we were to do this, a second problem here, right? Carrying capacity of 600, that's K. Population of 250, that's N naught. So 600 minus 250, that gives us 350. 350 divided by 600 gives us the percentage of room that we have left to grow. So what we want to do is take that original equation and kind of use it to modify the amount we typically add. So we have our exponential growth model, right? If it was carrying capacity of 0.8, just like we had before, right? We get that from 18 minus 10 divided by 10. So carrying capacity growth rate of 0.8 times our original, which is 10. So normally we would add 8 individuals. Well, we can take and modify the percentage of that 8 that we're going to add by seeing how much room we have left. So we put a 10 in there, and we look at our carrying capacity. 660 kind of looks like a decent number for that. So 660 minus 10, so that's 650 divided by 660, something like 97% of the room left. We're still going to add 8 individuals. But what that does is, as we go through and predict generation after generation, as we get closer to that carrying capacity, the percentage that we would have added under the old model is smaller and smaller and smaller. It shrinks it down. And that helps us generate better predictions that account for these limiting factors. So let me see if I got an example here. Okay. So let's say we had a growth rate of 2.5 and a population size of 350 and a carrying capacity of 1,800. 1,800 minus 350 divided by 1,800. Okay, that's going to give us this this 0.805. So we have 80% of the room left. Okay, 350 times 2.5, which is the growth rate in this example here, is 875. So 875 times 0.805. Now we're only going to add 704 instead of the 875. And that is going to give us a better prediction of our population growth. And then we do that 704 plus 350. We predict the next generation to be 1,054. So that's kind of how we're setting up this problem. Now, one thing I want to point out, our growth rate is under 1. What we're going to see is our, instead of an exponential growth in this logistic growth model, we're going to see an S-shaped curve. It's going to go up and then level out again. If it's over 1, instead of under 1, if it's over 1, what we'll see is the population will go up over the carrying capacity. And because it's over the carrying capacity, this term right here, K minus N over K, will actually turn negative. It will cause our population, because we're multiplying that by the number we would have added, right? 0.805, if that was negative by this, now all of a sudden that's going to turn those numbers negative. It's going to cause our population to go down. So we have this more of an oscillation above and below the carrying capacity that will happen if our growth rate is over 1. So that's something to keep in mind there.